Meg Downey, CBR.
Hi.
Talk to me a little bit about designing the show so that it kind of fits into the mold of the other Marvel TV shows while also, setting itself apart.
That's a really good question, that first part. I think the thing that really holds all Marvel TV shows and movies together are they start from character. And
Sure.
I think that was the most important thing.
Okay.
I think in the terms of Cloak and Dagger, we were looking to tell the story of a young woman and a young black man.
Sure.
Start there and try to tell different stories than I had seen with Tony Stark, Peter Parker,
Sure.
or anyone else. So we started there, and then I think look and feel wise, we wanted to just have it feel a little more intimate.
Sure.
So we started with what we called the Sundance coming of age type look. And when we found Gina, it kind of really gelled because I don't know if you've seen Beyond the Lights, but it has such an intimate, handheld feel to it.
Sure.
And it just felt perfect for Tandy and Tyrone. So we wanted to, I worked on Daredevil, which was street level,
Yeah.
and we're more like people level.
Right.
So we wanted to just make sure it was about, two people and you really felt their pain. And
Sure.
I thought Tammy Riker, our DP, and who came with Gina and worked on all that stuff, really just helped get that intimate feel.
Awesome.
Speaking of the people, I'm Tatiana Hollander with an accent.
Hi.
What would you say was the biggest departure for those characters, Tandy and Tyrone, from the comics, and what made you choose that route?
I think there's probably, if I can answer with two of them, obviously moving them out of New York to New Orleans was a big thing. It felt like New York had enough superheroes by then. And so when Jeff had talked about the potential of New Orleans, I got very excited because I think the city's kind of very European for an American city. There's a lot of magic underneath it, and even just, it's a city that survives, whether it's Katrina or Deepwater. It's a city that, not only survives, but needs heroes. So I think that was one of the big ones. But the other thing is just updating it. The original story is fantastic, and it was progressive for the time, but a little racist and sexist for our times. So we wanted to kind of recalibrate what it's like to be a young white woman, a young black man, and kind of tell that story in the spirit of what they did before.
Tony Sanchez, the hashtag show. So in the comics, Cloak and Dagger are actually mutant characters. Previously, the MCU has been barred from using the mutant label, but with the recent reacquisition of the X-Men rights and the mutant label, are Cloak and Dagger going to be the first official mutants in the MCU?
I am the worst authority at all, but let me tell you what I remember from life. Because as I remember it, and please fact check me.
Or has there been an edict to not use the name within the series?
I think they turned them into mutants like halfway through. I think they started off.
It was, yeah.
And then they, for some reason, to kind of jazz them up and give them some more life, they did some mutant misadventures of Cloak and Dagger. So I think because these were kind of created in a vacuum, first obviously with Spider-Man, they didn't necessarily kind of get involved in the is this Spider-Man, is this mutant, and Marvel on the rights. So hopefully we can bring some mutant friends to play now that Fox is playing, and I always loved the Fantastic Four, so it'd be fun for Johnny Storm to show up at some point.
But in the show, they're not necessarily referred to as mutants.
No.
Okay.
We try not to say any nerdy words at all. We say a lot of nerdy words.
Bradley Burgess on FGTV. I was really excited to see Emma Lahana joining the cast. What can you tell us about her character on the show?
I can tell you nothing about her character. It drives me crazy. Here's what I can tell you. Emma Lahana is going to show up in our second episode, and she's going to say exactly one sentence, and she's going to blow you away. And as you watch her story, you're going to see something you haven't seen on television a lot. Because she's really talented and she just brings it. Yep. She'll clear it.
I don't want to dominate the conversation.
Right.
Is this a show that's going to exist, like you just mentioned, bringing in Fantastic Four, mutants in? Is this a show that's going to exist in any sort of shared universe space that we've seen, with any other Marvel shows? Or?
I hope so.
Okay.
I think it was really important for the first season to really establish Tandy and Tyrone, even as people before they become superheroes, for lack of a better word. But I'm a big fan of what Josh and Stephanie did on The Runaways, and we're always talking about when do we get to do our crossover.
Awesome.
There's probably 400 lawyers in the way.
Sure.
But I still have some fun family that worked on Daredevil, and I think there's so much fun being had. I'm excited for however Cloak and Dagger can play in the universe.
Sure.
Are there any plans to put Aubrey and Olivia in for at least a version of the signature Cloak and Dagger uniforms costumes?
You're going to be so excited to see how things are evolved. But we're also not going to be sexist.
Good.
So
Always good to hear.
you might never see your navel.
Yeah.
Weird question, or maybe not weird question. I was wondering who made the decision to make it so that they couldn't, physically touch. Who made that?
I think it probably came from me at some point, and I think the idea was to make their life difficult, and I think the way we.
Not difficult enough.
Well, these are Marvel superheroes, right? Like, Peter Parker was married to a supermodel, and yet his life was impossible. But I think what we wanted to do was, we say it, I think, in the teaser, the world keeps pulling us together, the world keeps pushing us apart. This is a story, first and foremost, about finding your best friend, and I love the idea of, like, someone who you couldn't touch, who you couldn't manipulate, so you had to be honest with them. And so, I grew up a big fan of Buffy and things like that, and behind Buffy is the idea of nobody understands me, and I think Cloak and Dagger is the story of exactly one person understands me.
Cloak and Dagger really well. Sorry. They're really well known in the comics for their war on drugs and really helping out, runaways, street level heroes.
Yep.
All right. Can we expect to see a lot of that within the series?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the really important thing to me. Season 1 is really about them emotionally and where they're coming from. Probably a slightly slower bake than most TV shows about what the origin story is and learning to use your powers. But as we kind of turn the corner into Season 2, we're going to deal with almost all of that, and hopefully in a real way that'll help save the world a little bit. Thank you guys.
so much.
Nice to meet you.